Surprise! I'm here again, once again on the waterfront. It's windy outside, but that's what life is. It's about the flow. The wind will move you if you allow it and just go. Whether it's the wind or the waves, the ebbs and the flows of life, the surfing, the crashing. You know what? We're all presented with so much in this life. How much of it are we present for? How much of it are we showing up for ourselves? Are we truly, really just here? Or are we just caught up in what's happening in the future or in the past? How do you show up? How do you flow? Is really the question out there that I'm presenting. How do you flow? I like to dance. I like to go with the ease and the grace, and whatever is presented to me, it's an opportunity at all times. Anytime something happens, I can respond or I can react. If someone's not in the same flow as I am and I react, that's on me, not on the other person, right? But when I'm present with myself and I recognize my patterns, I can take it back a little bit enough to witness and recognize what my flow is. Maybe my old pattern, my own flow was to get really upset and to attack and to get, oh my gosh, what is happening to me? Or I notice I can sit back and say, oh, I remember my old patterns. And as a result of my old patterns, I can show up and go, I can work with this. I can move with this. I'm going to flow with whatever shows up. And if something shows up you're not prepared for, well, then that's life. That is life, right? You're only going to know when it arrives. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. That's when you grow. So this is the ebb and flow of life, just like the breath. The inhale expands and the exhale contracts. You go out, you come back in. The out comes in, the in goes out. It's an equal exchange. And so then consider that if your flow is in a reaction mode, then what you're going to receive will be a reaction response. But if you're willing to take a moment to breathe into it, respond, don't let it take you out of your personal power, then you'll find that it also responds. The softer you are, the softer and kinder and gentler life will show up to you. But these are conscious behaviors when you are in that flow. And then if you're in the unconscious flow, you'll also notice those patterns of how it'll show up to you when you're hard. Life will show up to be hard. Right? Like attracts like. It's not as difficult as it sounds. It's rather simple. But when you see it come into your existence, your awareness, whether it's in your thoughts or externally presented to you, those are the moments you'll notice where your flow is. So let me know, how is the wind? First off, there's a lot of wind. It actually feels really good after today. Today was the day to go spend some time with my dad. I can honestly say I wish I were more present. I was finding myself a little bit more inward. And so when you're not as fully present as you can be, when we show up for people, we need to be more present with ourselves to notice when we're present with others. My lighting is funky because it's sunset and you just never know, right? So I'm just trying to tap it out. And the wind is enough that, yes, the camera / phone is moving and shaking with me. So, how are you flowing today? What is your natural rhythm? What is your natural flow? And that's everything. That's everything from how do you wake up in the morning? to how do you go to sleep at night. You can't hear the wind. That's fantastic, Jennifer. Thank you for that feedback. That's awesome because that means this is working even better than I thought. So, hi Sabine, how are you? Greetings. Yeah, I know for me when I show up and I'm not 100% present, it means there's something internally I need to process, and it's okay. I'm working on me. I try to be as present as I can be with people in my life. And so that's, again, a question of if you notice other people and the way they show up in your life, if they're as present, you'll probably notice they may not be as present if you're not as present. So, flow, baby, flow. Go with it, roll. Right? If you need to, I highly suggest, if your flow is a little off, you might want to get up and dance. You gotta move. You know, emotions, for example, if you're going through some serious emotions, I know I am. I'm always going through different waves again, right? Flowing with life. When you find these emotions popping up, ciao Lucy, how are you, beautiful? Long time no see. When emotions come up, do you know what is the necessary step? There's several ways you can handle them, but the best way that I found for myself is to move my body. Moving my body helps because energy and motion. One of the first things, when I'm highly emotional, I want to drink some water because water is going to rebalance. We're 70% water, and I find that to flow properly and to be fully present with whatever's coming up, I need to hydrate. And if we're 70% water, then there's an imbalance. Again, emotions are influenced by water, right? And it's key in keeping yourself present and healthy and available, nourishing this temple, this beautiful temple. Hi, Chalice, how are you? I got a little buddy. He's a little bit anxious. He's chewing everything up. I'm telling you. Yesterday, he chewed up a bottle cap, and he had it stuck in the roof of his mouth. I had to pull that out. First things for me, when I notice my flow may be a little bit off and my emotions are going wacky and out of control, is I will drink some water. Then I like to move my body. If I stay sedentary, I will actually find myself in the depths of despair. I notice that I get easily anxious and depressed. It's something I've worked through over the years, and I'm much more aware of it, that I may not speak about it a lot outwardly because I know I'm working on it on the inward. And most often if we're working on something on the inside, thank you, dear Julia, I'm also noticing he might have gotten another bottle cap, and I don't know where he finds these things, but he is really good. Well, he's a dog and he's got a good sniffer. And so these emotions, Rhonda, right? So and I'm sorry for the loss of your mom too. You got to process those. You have to honor those and allow the tears to cleanse and to clear. Whatever amount of time you need to heal and to work through that, let yourself flow with it. Don't try to push it away. Just honor it. I honor anyone who has that courage and strength to be in it fully, because that's a process we should honor. I can't imagine if something were to happen to my mom. I know it may take me a while to go through it, to go through that healing, grieving process, right? And so we have to be consciously aware of what's going on within, to notice what's going on outside of us. And no matter what, and I've kind of talked about this all over the place, I mean, it always comes back to awareness. It always comes back to the breath and the mindfulness and being completely conscious of your actions, thoughts, your deeds, whatever it is that you put into action, it always is going to start up in here. And we can stop ourselves from taking action, reaction, if we're willing to listen as the witness instead of the victimhood stories or whatever it is we do. And I know I was a victim. I had that victimhood story for many, many years that, oh, woe is me. Why did these things keep happening to me? And that didn't serve me. I found that if anything, it was holding me back on any type of growth I may have benefited from. The idea that my story was the same over and over and over and over and over and over again was just reliving it. And so now I try to get out in nature more. I try to walk buddy, because I'm telling you, if you don't have a four-legged friend, fur baby in your life, they will teach you the importance of presence, because they're only present here. Buddy is so present right now, he is just chomping down on his little treaty find, let's call it. And so I'm very grateful that no matter what, and I encourage this to anyone, no matter what comes up for you, sometimes things come up, doesn't mean you need to respond or react to them either. Thoughts will come up, cravings will come up. See, this is the key in healing addictions, right? Is the awareness of them. Not to beat yourself up about them, because guess what? An addiction will always serve you during your life. Again, the contrast, that pendulum swinging, which extremes we may take in our lives, are all part of this divine dance and this fluidity and this flow and this movement that we need to grow. That without the polarities, the contrasts, the dualities of life, we would not have the awareness of what has worked, what has attuned to us, what feels good, what it is that drives us, motivates us, feeds us, fuels us, inspires us. And so allowing ourselves to keep in that constant movement, right? Yes, I love that quote too. The longest journey you will ever take is from your head to your heart. And that is so very, very true. And I don't remember the first time I heard that and who the quote comes from. I think I've heard it several times from different speakers and books. But what I found and what I've gleaned from my own personal insight, Amanda, is that when we recognize that the head is sitting on a pedestal, and the reason I think the ego feels so regal and in control of things is that because it thinks, well, I'm up here, I'm on a pedestal. And when we recognize that this mind, this ego mind, is so caught up in the idea of feeling important, that it's not really truly a throne as it may think. If it thinks it's a throne, then it's feeling superior, right? But this is the irony, because the heart is where we need to drop into. And my personal experiences and all that I've gleaned in my own wisdom of meditation and yoga and presence in my own life has been that I feel that the head is on this so-called pedestal, not to elevate it and make it feel superior, but for it to be able to see and to recognize and witness the heart in action. And that's why it's so important to retrain the mind to become the observer and the witness, to see and to glimpse into the insight of what really is really deep within your heart and soul. And how many times have those of you out there said, oh, I knew it in my gut, I knew it, I felt it, my instinct was right, because you listened to the head instead of dropped into where you felt it. Because feeling it really is the instinct. When you feel the resonation, that something, something you feel, then you're more in tune than you'll ever be in that analytical mind of thinking. So to drop back in to this silent observer as opposed to this active mind of control is the key in unlocking and connecting this bridge. Right, Amanda? I think he's got it stuck in his mouth again. Oh my gosh, this is funny. Buddy, you are so funny. Oh, he's calm now. He's just happy. So, the flow. And we can go like this, right? But there's so much more to us. And there is no one dimension. We're multi-dimensional, right? Ever present. Hopefully always being, not just doing. Are you surfing the waves of life? Are you ebbing and flowing? He'll be fine. Trust me, I've got my eye. He is like right there. And my phone is situated on a long pole. And it's getting hit with the wind. And the wind is kind of bobbing it around. But how do you flow in your life? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. How do you flow? Do you find yourself to be more in a reactionary mode? Or do you find yourself to be more present and still and aware and able to witness what is going on up here before, so that you're able to slowly, calmly respond in circumstances that you may have in the past reacted? Do you find yourself more present and available as the witness? Or do you find yourself more as a warrior, like I need to validate and I need to vindicate and I need to step up and speak up because that's just how it is and I know the truth and I want to be heard and seen. I want people to know and feel my presence. And that's a lot of ego. And I know over the course of my life there have been times, and I still have it, I'm human, where I want to be heard, I want to be seen, I want to be felt and witnessed, right? In the sense that we all want to feel significant. That's why relationship is so important. The connection to one another. We're human. None of us want to feel the eyes of judgment or the harsh whipping of a tongue in criticism. It really is about flowing in kindness, right? Compassion. And then when you can dance a dance with people that you may not have ever considered dancing with, because you drop the labels, you drop the preconceived ideas of how and who they are, recognizing that they themselves, just like you, are human, wanting love and affection, that as we give unto another, we will receive. Maybe sometimes it's not as evident, and maybe it's not the way we want to receive it, but again, we can choose how we respond to it. We can allow our lives to soften, or we can just keep on hardening. For me, hardening did not work. And even in my physical body, the tension, the discomfort, the dis-ease, the chronic pain, which to me, the chronic suffering, the chronic attachment, the holding on to things physically, emotionally, mentally, has really been like, wow, how humbling is that when you can sit with yourself and go, wow, beautiful, 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 Julia and Sophie. Ariel, thank you. Hi, and Rhonda, thank you so much. We're always learning, and the kindness. I've had a couple friends that are really going through some troubling, hard times that have reached out, and I've reached out to them. I think that that's one thing I've been trying to remind everyone is to be kind with your mind. That we ourselves can easily be that inner critic, right? So, for example, we all want the best for everyone else, but how often are we wanting the best for ourselves? So when we start working on ourselves and we really truly do embrace and honor who we are in our personal truth, not what we anticipate somebody thinks our personal truth is or their expectation of how we should be, and the idea that they're judging us, see, that's none of our business, first off. But if somebody were judging you, you don't even know what that judgment is. So when our mind gets entrained in this, oh, I'm worried about what this one's going to think, and I know that person's judging me, I know they're judging me. And you already have a preconceived idea about what you think they're judging you on and how they're judging you without them saying anything. That's not a very healthy flow, because then you've been taken out of your personal power. You've allowed someone else who doesn't even realize that you've given all your attention and energy toward them, and you've given them the judgment to place on yourself. So imagine this for a moment, because I was discussing this earlier, that most people, I know myself, so I'm saying this from my personal experience, I'm my worst critic. I know that. Woo, there goes it. Here goes a chopper. There's a chopper passing by. It's a Harley. So, oh yeah. Hey, God love ya. If you got the body around it to be a stripper, I tell you what, you don't know how close I almost came to being one a few times in my life, because I know my body was in banging shape back then. Although, to be totally honest with you, I'm so grateful that I didn't, only because I realized I feel so much better now. But plus I didn't have time for it, even if I wanted to do it. I kind of wished I had, because pole dancing is pretty darn good exercise. I kind of went through waves where I wanted to do it and then I didn't want to do it. But going back to that, though, you know, like, I'm my own, see, I'm even talking it out loud, because I had my own judgments about what would people think about me if I did do it, right, Rhonda? So that's a beautiful example right there. I am my own worst critic. Now, I used to work out really, really hard, and I would do kickboxing, and I used to teach a lot too. So I used to teach kickboxing, I used to teach Pilates, I teach aerobics, I taught step aerobics, jazzercise. I mean, I don't even know what I didn't teach, but back then, all that stuff. And I was a runner. And I tell you what, I know one of the reasons I did not end up becoming a stripper was, part of it was I was afraid of the judgment. I was afraid of also, because back then I also worked in jobs that had high security clearances. So that was my biggest concern from the professional level, but I really wanted to do it just for my own self-esteem, because I love to dance. And I don't see any shame in stripping, honestly. I think it's beautiful. It's an expression of the female form. It's the expression of the body and the femininity. I think that what gets skewed is other people's ideas and the projections, but the media and the way that it's been about sex. And even though I think we should all be able to express ourselves, there's still an imbalance in that. Don't worry about the misspellings, honey. You're great. But I didn't do it mostly because I didn't want to get in trouble for my jobs, because my jobs were really, really high clearance. And so that would have put me in a jeopardizing situation. And I did enough of that. I got in trouble for, and I say trouble, I basically was a whistleblower. So when you piss off the wrong people, you can also lose your job and your what's the word? Yeah, so anyway, but moving on, again, me being my own worst critic, if I myself, hi Cheryl, if I myself am judging myself, it's easier for me to anticipate others are judging me. And this is where anxiety comes in, by the way. If you're someone who's highly anxious, you suffer with depression, it's that inner critic, that inner voice is the loudest, isn't it? And then not only that, but your mind is putting it out on everyone else too. Your mind is so powerful, it says, well, I'm already judging myself. I bet everybody else is judging me. It like goes into this spiraling self-sabotage of criticism and negative self-talk. That's a flow that's not a healthy flow, right? Who all out there can relate to that one? So as I was saying, the idea that we're already criticizing and negative self-talking ourselves about whatever it may be, whether it's what you eat, who you date, your choices in your lifestyle, your family, in the sense that you are already upset with yourself because you're doing something that you know that so-and-so won't like, and so now you're already projecting the idea that You're mad at yourself about whatever it is, and then now you're saying to yourself, well, that one's going to judge me on it, and you're creating a big monster, right? That's not healthy, I've found for me. But it can be a motivator for you to try to do better too, right? To recognize that inner self-critic, that harsh inner self-critic, is to also have compassion and see how we need to work on the self-esteem, how we need to build ourselves up, that we need to speak kinder. So when you do witness the inner harsh critic, it's also good to breathe into it and go, maybe it's okay. If someone has a judgment about me, it's okay. And it's okay that you even judge yourself, but don't get caught up in the loop. Don't keep repeating it, but to recognize it and go, you know what? I'm going to honor myself right here, and thank you for, I'm grateful for my awareness. I'm grateful I just witnessed this, because if I didn't witness it, I wouldn't know what I have to work on. And when you know what to work on, there you go. You can change your flow. You can shift it. You can choose kinder, more compassionate words. You can soften, because the hardening is from the tensing up and the anticipation and the anxiety, right? Or the depression. And that when we soften ourselves again, and it takes, we'll build ourselves up and then we'll drop ourselves down, and we build ourselves up. But the more you work on this, and I've found over the course of my life, the more I've started working on this inner harsh critic that I have myself, I don't have to worry about what everybody else is thinking of me. Now, I do notice it when people get anxious about what it is I may be thinking about them, and I'm like, you really have no idea. Don't beat yourself up and put that on yourself, because what I'm thinking, or if you think I'm judging you, for example, anybody in my life, if you really think I'm judging you, please clarify, speak it out loud, but don't assume, because you know what assuming does, right? It makes an ass out of you and me. If I have a judgment, that's on me. But you thinking I have a judgment, it's putting a lot more pressure on you. And consider that the next time you're worried about what someone's thinking about you, or criticizing, or any of that. So I have a very strong will, a very strong mind. I'm very, very okay, here's my expectation of myself. And when I don't meet that, that's hard. It's difficult. It's something I work through. But when somebody verbally tries to put something additional on me, I also know that I have a strong enough mind. This ego, this is the human characteristic that we all probably exude. It's just the question is, how strong is it? That when someone says something to you that tenses you up, okay, I'm already being hard on myself about this, and now someone's giving me more about it. And that has nothing to do with you, by the way, because unless you've asked for it, chances are the other person is also working through it themselves, and they witness it in you because it is in them. And there's nothing wrong with that either. But if you're the person who's pointing fingers and you got 3 fingers pointing back to yourself, and you can recognize that here you are criticizing someone else, when you see that, it's humbling when you stop and go, oh my gosh, I am actually doing it to them, and I wouldn't want that done to me. So this is an opportunity for me to go within and recognize maybe what I'm saying to that person is something I can also learn from and glean wisdom into myself. And I tend to do that. There are times I catch myself in mid-saying of something and I'm like, oh my gosh, there I am again. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how we grow. If you are able to see it, you can work through it. Always. That is the way life is meant to flow. Let yourself swing on the pendulum and don't try to get caught on one end or the other, and allow yourself to go with the flow. This is what I felt today was all about. Because otherwise, you just get caught up in stuff that's insignificant. You lose sight of what's available to you, right? So how are you all doing tonight? I just wanted to jump on shortly, and I wasn't planning on going too long. I just wanted to see, how do you flow in your life, and do you see where you can actually shift it, make it more fluid, make it more inspiring for yourself, maybe inspiring for others, Yeah. The mind is actually very helpful, and its purpose is to serve you. It's just how much do you give it credit as opposed to praise. So again, the mind, I believe this head is on top of the heart to witness the heart. I feel the heart itself leads by example. That's why we should open it, stand strong and tall. And that when we recapture and realign our physical bodies, we can be more attuned to the outer bodies, everybody in our realm, right? It's so beautiful out today. It really is. I notice when I'm walking, for example, or driving, as long as I'm completely present, which sometimes I get a little bit out of it, but the majority of my movement, I have to let stuff go sometimes, but only when you're ready. Now, not when someone tells you, right, Rhonda? I bet you were a beautiful dancer. I bet. I trust that you probably are still. And when you're willing, you can come dance with me live. I applaud any dancers out there. You want to join me? So yeah, movement. Moving your body, letting yourself flow. Letting your mind, okay, you see things, but let it keep going. And sometimes just engage with your mind and just confront it and go, okay, I see where you're going. How's that serving? How's that showing up? And what does that have to tell me? What is the blessing in this? What is it I'm meant to glean from this? Where's this coming from? Where's the origination? What is the root? Because sometimes if you let that mind go and you maybe have pen and paper, in my case, I do that, or I'll take notes on my phone. The more I'm able to just keep on digging deeper, questioning myself, confronting myself, going down what some people might think is a spiral, but you actually have to know what questions to ask yourself to really be present enough to want to know the answers. If you give yourself a question, you will actually find that the answer will come to you. It's just a matter of being fully present to receive it and allow it, because receiving and allowing the answers is the key to the growth. And usually you've got it all within you that you don't have to ask for answers outside. You know, no matter what you've been through in your life, you have the answers. You know everything. It's just remembering. It's gleaning the insight and the reflection, right? Hi, Bonnie dear. I love you too. Hi, Jay Christopher. I hope you're all having a wonderful Throwback Thursday. We went up and helped my dad with the palm trees out front. And these particular palm trees, these shorter ones, there's usually like 3 at least that grow out of the ground. Man, I got poked and I've got all sorts of scrapes and cuts on my legs. Not cuts, mostly I got pricked with these prickly things. Good for you. Awesome. And you know what is beautiful? When people are willing, Rhonda, when people ask you the question and they're willing to hear the answer, doesn't that make you feel more valuable than, I know in the past for me, I wanted to help people and didn't realize what I was doing was trying to make others feel comfortable, because when I wasn't working on myself, I was trying to help everyone else. And that the more I work on helping myself and working on myself, people will come to you. They'll trust you enough to want to console in you, confide in you, and hear what it is you witness in them and are willing to share with them. Because you in the past for me, I wanted so badly, like I was very naive. I was a very exuberant child. My mother will tell you. Always very happy. Love people. I've always really enjoyed being around people, engaging with people. I think it's the most beautiful gift we have in this life, is to meet with people, to connect. Because again, life is about relationship with people, yourself and others. And so the awareness that we don't have to go out and try to find people that want us. People will come to us when they're willing and ready, and they'll ask for it when they're ready to receive it. And you'll be able to discern that. That's what I've learned. That a lot of times I wanted to give, and I was exhausted. And I think it was Brene Brown, and inauthentic life is exhausting. So to be doing things outside of what comes natural, to try to do out instead of do in, do within, go from within, it tends to be more exhausting to push on people than it is to allow. Like, I like a girlfriend of mine, one of my goddess sisters, she said, it's called pull marketing. Like, this was in a meeting with a studio that I've taught at. She said, let's not work on push marketing, because push marketing is very aggressive, right? Pull marketing, in the sense of energetically, just naturally drawing the people who are meant to come to you. Now, that's from personal work. That's not necessarily something I think you can necessarily do out in the real world. I think you have to work on everything at once. But if you have the right message, the right people will show up, and when they're ready, and you know what? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So you will be exactly where you're meant to be, and they will show up in the flow, right? So this is what it's about today. If you haven't already been, if you found yourself in any form of resistance, go within, go back to your natural flow. And the discomfort and the dis-ease can just wash away. But the more we capture, okay, this is maybe not a day to push. This is a day to just move with whatever is meant to unfold. To not resist, but allow. It'll come in, it'll go out. And it's how you show up that it'll show out, right? It'll come out. The waves are crashing, the sun is setting. Ooh, the sun is already set. It's time for me and Buddy to make our trek back home. I hope you all have an amazing evening. I love you all. Easter's coming. Bunny hop, bunny hop, bunny hop, bunny hop. I'm so excited. You know what rabbits do. Woo-hoo. Just teasing. Have an amazing evening. I love you so much. Be in your happy flow.